GMs are just as, if not more important than the players. Controversial, I know. That was a signature tagline I had on an old roleplay forum many, many years ago. It might have been the EM World, I'm not sure. And I remember getting a lot of grief over that particular signature tag. But what exactly do I mean by that? Because I'm not putting down players and I'm not putting up GMs. I generally do think that GMs are just as, if not more important than the players. The background of that comes from at one point there was a big, I want to say outcry, that's not the right word, but there was a lot of talk about how players were the most important part of any role playing game, of any particular group, because without players, the GM doesn't have a game. I always countered that by saying, well, without a GM, the players don't have a game. So, swings and roundabouts. But what am I actually saying when I say that? Well, players, if we assume going by how I imagine the majority of gaming groups go, the players only have to sort of worry about their own character. So when they're not actually playing, they might spend some time reading up on their class, their race, feats and spells they might want to take. Somebody might draw some art for their character, But ultimately, what goes on for a player is largely held within the game session. The GM is a complete different animal. The games master is pretty much spending blood, sweat, time, tears, effort, imagination. They put their all into a game if they're even halfway decent. They're buying the books, they're buying the scenarios, they're buying, whatever. The GM comes up with a campaign, whether it's something they've written themselves or they're converting, reading, buying a published campaign or adventure module. Often they are buying or creating the miniatures. They're coming up with the maps. They spend a lot of time away from the game working on their campaign. As someone who has been primarily a games master since I started playing back in the late 80s, I can attest to this. Whereas players, not putting players down here, don't take it that way, but players generally don't do an awful lot. They get on with their lives between game sessions. They might paint miniatures. They might, as I say, research a bit more where their character's going to go. But they don't put the effort in. They don't put the frustration and everything else in. And that's where that sort of came from. And a lot of people really took umbrage to it. But I think it's perfectly true. The Games Master comes up with all this. The Games Master comes up with the world. They come up with the campaign. They come up with the adventure. They tie things together. They put so much time and effort in. I think it's only fair that the Games Master be considered as equally important, if not more so, than the players. As I said, controversial. I would be quite interested to see what people's thoughts are on that. Am I going to get some... all right, I don't imagine he was going to have a go at me for it, but am I going to get some grief for that? Am I going to get people agreeing, people disagreeing? I think it's perfectly true, but I want this as a jumping off point for a discussion. Let's see what you guys come up with. I look forward to seeing your comments in the section below. Take care, good night, and good gaming.